Alrighty, it looks like we are live on Facebook. Welcome back, everyone, to another Wednesday night live as we are embarking on one of the busiest weekends of the summer with Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to all the veterans that are serving and have served and allow us to do what we love to do. It's definitely a great weekend to celebrate that and kind of spend time, hopefully at the racetrack. I know a lot of people like to go to the lake and stuff, but we got racing going on. And it's the summer, so hopefully see you all at the racetrack at some point throughout the weekend. I got a busy schedule coming up, which I will be releasing tomorrow, as I'm neck deep in projects right now. But one of the projects we got for tonight is we have young Ty Agen out of Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. He drives the number 26 WISSOTA Street Stock. Ty, how are you doing this evening?
Doing awesome this evening. Nice shop day today.
Yeah, it's a perfect day to work on the shop. Good weather. I'm sure it's been hit or miss where you're at, just like where I'm at.
Yeah, a little rain here and there, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps put some moisture in the tracks if they're starving for like moisture, been running a little bit dry. I guess, do you prefer like a track to be moist or do you like the dry slick setup? I guess.
I more like the dry, slick aspect of things, actually. So a lot of hammer down tracks aren't really my style. I kind of like it smooth and slow.
Okay. Yeah, well, we might get some moisture in the tracks this weekend. We'll see what they kind of got up their sleeve. And so, if you're watching or following for the first time, be sure to drop a comment or drop a like to the video, and we'll give you a shout out if you're watching. And be sure to ask either of us any questions you may have. We're going to kind of be previewing the Street Stock Tour and kind of getting to know Ty a little bit more as he's been a guest previously. I believe it was 2 years ago, your last on this show, but. What was your before we get into the 2024 season, what was your 2023 season like for you? Because you put on a lot of miles.
Yeah, I mean, last year we pretty much just ran the tour, really. We kind of traveled doing that. That's was our main focus, and we ended up getting a second place to Justin last year. So that was kind of where most of our miles came from. Was definitely the tour, and of course, if anything rained out, we would always be willing to drive a little bit further for another race because that's just what we always used to do when we race go karts too. So if it rains, you just gotta kind of dodge the rain and go where the rain doesn't.
That's kind of like me too, because usually I have, especially this time of year too, is like I have a primary spot where I'm going to be, and I have like a backup, but just in case that doesn't pan out. And so I'm sure you kind of do the same thing as the weekend approaches.
Yeah, I mean, gears are always loaded in the trailer. So usually, if it starts to look like rain, we kind of sit down and start looking at how many miles away we can drive and what we have time for and what we don't. So if we're out ready to race, we're gonna race. So that's kind of how it comes down to. I know last year, when the I think it was the 2 day show at Madison ended up raining out, and we went to Fergus and we made the race at Fergus, and we were actually on our way back to Madison because we thought we were going to be able to race both Fergus and Madison in the same night. So we would have made it, but then Madison ended up raining out. So we're always ready to race.
So that always happened to me a couple weeks ago. I believe, yeah, it would have been the second night that Fergus Falls second weekend that they raced because I was in Fargo for the races there, and they kind of moved through the program pretty quick. And I was looking at my race pass, and I saw like the street stocks had just hit the track when we finished up in West Fargo. I'm like, I could almost make Fergus Falls. It's only like less than an hour from me, but I'm like, we're not going to go too nuts to start the year.
Yep. Yeah, you're just started. Can't be doing that yet.
Yeah, I can't get burned out early on in the year, and so yeah. So you put on a lot of miles. How many wins did you end up with last year?
I think last year we ended up with a total of four, I think. We didn't end up getting any tour wins last year, but I think we got two at Granite, and then I don't even remember where the other two came from, but I believe it was four.
Okay, and we'll kind of get into it in just a minute or two. But you've kind of already matched that to start the 2024 season, so not too bad of a start.
No, not at all. We've been moving it pretty quick this year so far.
Definitely. Well, we got people tuning in already. We got one of the loyal listeners of Wednesday Night Live, Jeremy Bloom. I'm sure you know him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's out in your neck of the woods, and so I definitely want to say hi to you, Jeremy. Who is his best race fan that cares about him?
Definitely Jeremy. it kind of sucks because I don't race Menominee much, so I don't really get the chance to see him very often. But when I do, I always make sure to talk to him for a while.
Yeah, I always try to make it a point to get in touch with Jeremy too. He always asks like, "Hey, you coming over for like when the tour shows up? Are you going to be in the area like for like Rice Lake, the Little Dream or something like that?" So I always try to make it a point to talk to Jeremy if I see him. We also got Spencer Hupel checking in. Spencer's out of the South Dakota area, and he's always been a great big fan of like the tours coming into town. And so he's asking kind of a future question. You think about moving up to any different class in the future?
I mean, it all just matters on kind of the way the future pans out, I guess. Especially with where I plan to go with like job and stuff like that. That's kind of what it plays out to be right now. I guess we're kind of looking to just take it one step at a time. So this year is definitely our focus. We don't really want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Well, and I believe you're just finishing high school, correct?
Yep, I actually graduation is Friday, so that's my graduation. Skipping that, going racing. So
And there you go.
yep,
Yep, priorities. That's awesome. Yeah, because it's a tough weekend, especially with graduations going on, and then the long weekend. It's just like, what do you do?
yeah, I know. And it's my birth. So we graduate the 24th. It's my birthday on the 26th, and it's the start of the tour weekend. So I mean, we got a lot going on. So
Oh man, yeah. I hope you're because I know you so far in 2024 you've been kind of on your own traveling a little bit. So I assume your family's going to be joining you at some point throughout the weekend.
yeah, yep. We plan on leaving for Montevideo on Friday, and we're all three of us are gonna be there. So and then there's some others. My girlfriend Ellie and her mom are planning to come up for the 2 day show at Alexandria. And then the plan is to be on my own for Monday. So but that's kind of the plan for this weekend. So I'll have quite the pit crew this weekend, going from kind of by my own to everybody with. So that'll be pretty relaxing.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that extra help on hand, especially for stuff like changing gears. Is that mainly your job to do the changing of the gears? Because for when I think of like gears, I think of like small things, but street stock gears, they're not small at all.
Oh God. No, I ever since I know when I started racing, I was 12 when I started racing the car and I could never pick them up. So I would always make Mike change them. And I think the first time that I ended up picking the gears up, it was pretty much I was changing them from there. So Mike didn't want to crawl back under there ever since I could pick them up. So that's kind of my job. But like as far as the traveling aspect goes, the biggest part about being by myself that I've found is like I just don't have anybody to talk to. I drive 5 hours to Fergus and I'm by myself and I don't really have much to talk to. I know I always call my both my parents just to kind of talk to them for a while because it's just gets a little lonely out there.
I'm the same way. A lot of times I have a couple of friends that I call on my way to the track, usually like on a Sunday going down to like Watertown's like a 2 hour drive. So it's nice to kind of like talk for an hour and like all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're at the racetrack. And so, yeah, I totally understand that because some of
Yeah.
those trips get really long.
Yep. And especially whenever I'm going to make a change to the car, I always used to have Mike there. And I most likely know what I want to do. I just like to run it past somebody first. And I know I've definitely so far this year I've called Mike and asked him and he just tells me I'm not there. So I can't help you with that. So that's been a little different too, because I just don't have that person to run anything by. I know both the Turners have been awesome because they every time I've been at Fergus, really, they've been out there helping me. So that's been a lot of help, actually.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that since you've been coming over to Fergus, kind of start the year and kind of hanging out in that neck of the woods, you kind of have a good group of friends, mainly from the tour, that's kind of helps you out every now and then to kind of make sure you're still keeping up at the front of the field.
Yeah, yep. It's been nice. That's a real good aspect of the tour is you get those friends that are willing to help when you are by yourself or something like that. Or if you wreck something, they're willing to help. So
Yeah, absolutely. It always is good to have like any help you can get, especially when you're like far away from home.
oh yeah.
Which, speaking of, your mom's checking in. So, hi, Aaron. Good to see you. I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Jeremy's got a question, and I'm curious on what his answer is going to be. What is your favorite racetrack food? if he eats at the track or whether it's from your trailer or whatever it may be?
Oh, I actually, when I'm racing, I don't eat. Like, I have breakfast, and then about at 12 o'clock at night, I'll have my next meal. And then it's the same for that as on race weekend. So I usually don't ever get anything from the track. But if I am feeling it that day, I'll usually get like a walking taco is kind of the thing that I'll go to. I know a lot of tracks don't have it, so then I'll just get a cheeseburger. But most of the time, I'm not eating. Like, I don't know what it is, but I just can't eat.
Okay. Is it anything to do with like nerves or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't. It's not like I get nervous at all. It's just I. I feel like I'm never hungry when I'm at the track. Like I'm always just going, so I never really get hungry.
I'm the same way just because I'm go, go, go throughout the pits. And then once the night starts to wind down, it's just like, oh gosh, I need to eat something.
Yep. And I know a lot of the racers are that way. That's why mom always has food in the crock pot. So it's kind of nice because then really late at night everybody will come around our trailer and they'll start devouring the food and everything like that. That's why I love it because I always have something to eat when it's about 12 o'clock at night and the concessions are closed.
Yeah, that I've definitely partaken in a lot of your mom's cooking, which is it's really good. And Jeff Ekdahl also checked in, fellow street stock racer. He's the same way. He doesn't eat until after the races are over, so
Yep.
it's a pretty common thing. So as far as the start of your 2024 season, you've been out at the track quite a bit. Kind of talk to us about how that's been going for you so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have 9 or 10 shows in so far, and we have 4 wins. So it's been, so far the year's been really good. So I hope to keep that momentum moving into the tour. That's for sure. I know last weekend was kind of it wasn't like a winning weekend, but we were there all every night last weekend. All 3 nights we were racing for top 5 or the win. So we've been there. So it's been really good. I've been getting a lot of track knowledge at Fergus and Alexandria, so I think that'll help a lot with when the tour goes there.
Yep, and that's kind of the first 2 weekends of the tour, so it's nice to kind of get those while they're like fresh on your mind and kind of
Yeah.
have a good setup and idea of going into it, what it's going to be like. Um, I think you actually started in the back of one of the races this last week, didn't you? Didn't you have like a misfortune that kind of put you back in the starting lineup?
Yeah, yep. My lower ball joint nut on the right side snapped out in the heat race, so it kind of just about wrecked everything on the right side. And then tow truck driver comes and picks me up and rips the fuel line too. So we and I gotta thank Eric Riley and Corey Dykoff. There was about 5 people that were sitting there wrenching on my car trying to get it ready for the feature, and we did. And I think we started 23rd, and we ended up finishing 4th. So we moved up 19 spots, I believe that it was. So yeah, it was one adventurous night, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially when you're starting the back of a stacked field, because like all the field, like there's been the stock car count has actually been really strong. I've been really pleased to see that, and like there's no shortage of competition anywhere you go.
No, and we were on the move there for a while. It just gets so hard when everybody gets so spaced out, and then when you get up there further, the cars get harder and harder to pass. So it's just ran out of laps.
Yep. Well, and Spencer had another question. I almost forgot to ask you about this, but as far as like the tour goes, is there like a favorite race or a favorite weekend that you kind of look forward to on the tour?
Oh, I really like the tracks when we ended up hitting like Ogilvy and Granite. Only, I mean, they're close races, but I really like Granite. Granite's probably one of my favorite tracks, so I really like it when the tour goes there. I am excited for Cedar Lake though this year. I'm really excited to see that come back, and I know I've heard from a lot of people that they're pretty excited about that too.
Well, and that's one of the tracks that's like very close to where you live, so it's not too far of a drive for a lot of your family members or
Yeah,
sponsors that kind of can show up and watch you race.
for sure. Yep. We haven't really been able to race Cedar Lake much. I know they race streeters, I think, twice a year, but I think I've only raced there 3 times, including the both tour nights I've been there. So
Yep. Well, and I see Kayla Koth is checking in, one of the fellow tour representatives. She didn't ask this question, but I'm curious. Do you have any do you have any strategy as far as when it comes to like your drawing? Because your drawing skills during a tour race are less than stellar.
Yeah, so I can't quite say I have any good strategy, that's for sure. It especially last year, I think the best I drew was third or something like that, and that was one time. Other than that, I was starting seventh and eighth. So I definitely don't have a good strategy, that's for sure.
Well, it's kind of one of those things because usually like the heat winners draw first and then it kind of goes like second, third, or whatever it may be. And it's like, do you want to have all those options to pick from right away, or do you kind of want your decision to be made for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had both last year. I would pick first and I'd draw eight, and then I everybody would draw every other number and I'd draw seven. So I mean, either way, it didn't really work out for me last year, but it's all luck of the draw. So
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, and especially with like the caliber competition at the tracks, it's like good. Like if you start like seventh or eighth, you got your work cut out for you.
oh yeah, you got enough cars for 20 laps right there alone. So
Yep. Is there any tracks like Princeton? I think is new on the schedule this year. Have you raced there before in any other car?
I have not. No, I've never been to. I know when one race rained out that we were headed to, we stopped in Princeton just to watch, but that was my extent of Princeton right there. It was I only watched once, and I think I only watched the heat races. So I didn't really, I don't really have much knowledge when it comes to that track, but I know some of the people that raced there this last weekend. I've been talking to them, to kind of figure it out a little bit more, so I'm not going into it completely blind.
Yep, and I think we're going in there middle of June or early July, I think. So we got a little bit of time to kind of get kind of a lowdown on what it's going to be like.
Yeah, yep.
Looks like Colin Nelson, photographer at Viking Speedway, checking in. He's wondering if you bought a scooter yet for the trailer.
We have not. Nope. Started to let him down. I know he was trying to talk me into it this last week and was to buy a scooter, but I have not gotten around to getting a scooter yet.
Well, man, it comes in handy, especially at a place like Alexandria. Like usually you pit on the outside of the track instead of the infield, correct?
Yeah, yep,
So I mean, it's a good walk to get over to the infield, and even Fergus Falls, it's like you put on a lot of steps at that place.
yep. I don't know. We have that little our little pit bike thing, but the nice thing about like a moped is you can go to town and everything with it. So that's pretty nice, but we haven't quite gotten around to it. I know we Mike got the golf cart fixed, so that will be up and running. So that's pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah, there's some shenanigans that take place on that golf cart, I'm sure.
It's not the safest one around, that's for sure.
Just keep Kayla away from it, and you're gonna be good.
Exactly.
Spencer had another question. Any plans to chase a national point title at some point?
It really comes down to how the tour goes for us, really. I mean, the tour takes up a large chunk of the year. So it's kind of the same thing how Justin went last year. You gotta kind of wait until you're done with the tour and then see where you're at. And I mean, if I'm running good then, sure, I'll go put on some more shows, see if we can kind of keep up with the national points. But it really just comes down to how the tour ends up.
Hmm. Well, and like you get full fields in like most pretty much all the tour races, so you get full points there, and so that kind of plays a factor. And I think that really helped Justin last year in the national title. So it's always interesting to kind of see how it plays out because I'm sure you can't go in and expecting to win 10 to 12 tour races because it's just too stacked of competition.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like obviously, if you're going to run for a national title, you almost have to win some of the tour races. You can't go all tour without winning, but it's so hard to actually pull out a win at a tour race, and I think that's kind of what makes it hard when you do run for the national title and everything like that because you are just racing against a stacked field every night of that tour. So, but the points come down to it, especially with their new points this year with the extra 2 points for over 26 or yeah, however 26 cars or whatever. So that'll definitely help with the if you are going to run for points. So that's something to take into account too.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of it like you said. A lot of times, I'm sure a lot of people who are looking at national points probably don't even pay attention until like mid to late August. Anyways.
Yeah. Yep, that's kind of what we're leaning towards too. Right now there's really no point of paying attention to it. I mean, we're gonna run and we're gonna go racing now, but obviously when the tour is done, that's when we'll kind of make our decision.
Absolutely. Want to say hi to Casey Usatis, fellow street stock racer, checking in, and Wendy Zuli checking in as well. Thanks for checking us out. Is there a race, whether it's on the tour last year or in previous years, that kind of got away? Like, is there one that you wish you would have had back or could replay?
Oh yes, it was the one. I want to say Jamestown, or maybe it was Aberdeen, one of the two over there, where I was leading it with I think 8 to go, and it was Johnny right behind me, and he ended up kept throwing sliders on me, and then finally I ended up kind of pitching it around and spinning out in front of the whole field. That's the one that kind of got away from me. I do have to say that's the one that stuck with me, but that's one of the ones that kind of helped me grow quite a bit in just one night there. So
Yeah, there's always those that, especially like, well, when you start throwing sliders with Johnny, you know you're in for a heck of a battle. And I think that, yeah, that was in Aberdeen, if I remember correctly.
yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was I knew it when as soon as he threw the first one that it was gonna get interesting for the next 3 laps, and it sure did, and I was holding him off for as long as I could until I think it got in my head a little bit, and I ended up just driving it in too deep and spun myself right around, and I know Johnny was a really good sport about it too. He was helping me fix it that night, same with the rest of the tour guys. It was a really good night to learn. Definitely not to the finish wasn't so good, but Johnny said that he even came up to me and said that I was definitely faster than him too. He was just trying to get in my head, and it definitely worked that night.
Well, now I always consider you like a veteran in the street stock. So you kind of have that experience to kind of use it for future instances when the racing gets pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, definitely moments like that, moments like the tour have definitely kind of made me grow a lot faster, I think, than just racing some local tracks here and there because you are racing those veterans in the tour. So like you're gonna see stuff like that and you just gotta be ready for anything pretty much.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Hey, Lindsay Hansen, appreciate you checking in. Basketball, I'm sorry that I'm doing this live while the Timberwolves are playing. Happy for your Timberwolves, but basketball is a winter sport. So it's racing season.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
racing season now.
Yeah. So we got a lot of people checking in and got a couple more questions in the chat, but want to give you an opportunity to list off your sponsors and any other people on your crew.
Oh, so we got a lot of new sponsors on board this year. I forgot what I think it was Viking. I had to name them off, and I definitely missed quite a bit of them. So I kind of feel bad for that. But we have a lot of people on this car this year. Um, some of the ones I'm going to start with the crew. I have to thank my stepdad, Mike Harsh. He is a large part of why we are racing and everything like that. And obviously, he's down there working on it right now while I'm doing this interview. So I got to thank him for that. Um, Another part of the crew is mom. She always sends me off with food and instructions for the weekend. So especially when I'm by myself, it helps out. She's always there to cook food too for the tour. I know all the tour guys love it. She's very supportive. And as the sponsors go, one of my biggest is Yellow Fever Racing this year. That was one of our former friends that ended up getting out of racing. We raced go-karts with them. They they ended up sponsoring quite a bit this year, so we got to give them a big shout out. My grandma and grandpa helped me a lot, and have actually they came to Fergus, and I ended up winning. So they were a good pit. My grandpa was a good pit guy for me that night. The company I work at, PMI, they ended up sponsoring me this year. Apex Excavating, JD Sled Shed, Keel Insulation. They just bought Rice Lake Speedway, and I have to give a big shout out because that place is looking really different and it's looking amazing. Actually, I'm really liking the renovations that they have. Cross Automotive. Oh wow, Tactical Escape 101. That was a big one this year. Yeah, there's been quite a bit of new ones. I'm definitely still Factory 43 Motorsports. That was a huge one. They helped put this whole car together. I can't thank them enough. This thing's a rocket ship so far this year. So I hope to keep the maintenance up and keep it going because with their help, this thing's been wicked fast. Tim's automotive machine for the engine. That's that's been running great so far. I stopped over there today, grabbed some oil. He's an awesome guy. So if you're around this area and you're looking for a motor, I'd definitely go to Tim's too.
Excellent. That's quite the crew behind you. A lot of great sponsors, and you're doing them proud to start
Yep.
2024. So that's awesome.
Oh, I got one more too. Iron Horse Consulting. I had to throw that one in there. If I didn't, I think I would get yelled at. So I need to make sure I throw that one in there too.
Well, if you remember any more, be sure to throw them out there.
I know. I'll just cut you off, Mason. Don't worry about it.
Yep. Spencer's asking, do you have a favorite driver to race against, whether it's on the tour or locally?
Ooh, on the tour is when you can actually race with him. It's Justin. Half the time he probably just checks out on you, but when you're actually racing against him, it's awesome to race against because he just has so much knowledge when you're out there. You can just see that on the track too, is the amount of knowledge that he has. Even some of the shows last year, I know I was trying to follow him, but the line that he was running what just didn't make sense to me. But somehow he made it all the way to the front, riding that line. So he's one of my favorites to kind of follow and learn from. That's for sure, and race with. Locally, don't really race very locally, so it's hard to say. But yeah, I don't even really know locally. Probably Andrew Hansen. He's one that I've been able to race side by side with locally. I really like racing with him too. He's an awesome driver, and I hope to see him on the tour this year.
Yep, I know he's planning to come over this weekend, and so it'll be nice to see him for the first time this year. He's got a few races under his belt. I think he's got a win or two as well. So,
yep, I think he won 3 times now over here. I think Rice Lake and Menominee.
Yep, that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm actually excited to kind of go see Rice Lake this year. I usually get over there for the Little Dream, at the minimum, but they've been doing some great work over there.
Yeah, I mean, we've been there once this year, and it was for their opener. And obviously, when you are there for the opener, you can't really expect the track to be perfect. And I know it was a little choppy, but definitely not as bad as some of the openers that I went to this year. And it was an amazing track. You can tell, like, grandstand wise, it looks amazing actually compared to what it was. So they kind of fixed the concession stands. So, and they're putting up a tech shed too. So I think it's going to be a great time. I know people keep saying it just gets better and better. So I know I just saw their Facebook post today. They just bought some new track equipment too.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting over there. I wish I lived closer, but being it's races on a Saturday, there's like 10 other tracks that race on a Saturday. So it's like I'm driving past 4 of them to get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey to Tyler Christensen and Abby Faber as well, checking in. Jeremy's asking, do you have a top 3 list for favorite racetracks?
Top 3 lists. Oh, I know Vikings probably up there. I'll probably put that at 3rd. I really like these little bull rings. I haven't been quite used to that when I was racing, but it's probably a tie between Granite and Watertown for 1 and 2. I've definitely been getting more used to the little bull rings that you guys have out there out west. It's been a big difference for me actually, but especially Watertown. That's a tiny little track.
Oh man. I know Aaron's watching, but I did sort of try to convince Ty to come over to Watertown the one weekend, I think after he won in Alexandria, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't have any gears with me though. I was really thinking about it, but I didn't bring the gears with. And I knew when I left that weekend, I knew I shouldn't bring them because I would end up talking myself into going. So
yeah, I know how that goes. And like, it's just better if you just leave that stuff at home and make that decision easier.
Yep, for sure.
I'm sure you could have borrowed someone else's gears.
Oh, I definitely could have. I know there's Tony Miller over there. He's always telling me that he has gears sitting in his shop for me. So it's kind of hard when you have that offer open.
Well, he's the same guy that always tries to get me to drive his race car too.
That's definitely Tony, 100%.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love street stocks. I would love to race one, but I'm like, I can't, I need way more experience because I care too much about you guys on the track.
Yep.
So, before we sign off, Kayla reminded me of this because there's a little thing we're doing at the Street Stock Tour, which we haven't announced yet, but we're doing one revenge draw during the year. So that's one night where you don't necessarily have to worry about yourself drawing a rough number.
Oh, so we get to put the draw on somebody else.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
That's good.
perfect. I should be great at that when I draw 8.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be perfect for you. It's like, here, you can hand this to like Justin or like Andrew, whoever you want.
Exactly. Yep.
And
That's
it's
gonna be
a
awesome.
Yeah, it's a random night that we're kind of we drew from the race night, so we know when it's going to take place, but you drivers don't know until that night. So
All right, yeah. That's gonna be definitely different, but I'm excited for that.
yeah, and like especially with the street stocks, you guys do a great job with the redraw. You like to interact with the fans and have fun with it. So figured it'd be a good opportunity for you guys to have some fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Awesome. Well, want to thank you for taking some time out of your schedule while you're working on the car and looking forward to seeing you this weekend. Safe travels because you're traveling a long distance. So looking forward to seeing you. I won't be there Saturday, but I'll be there Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely look forward to this tour starting. I've been waiting for it, especially now with how all the points are at the track where I have to start 8th. I'm ready to actually redraw and start 8th, I guess. It feels a little bit better when you do it yourself. So
You know,
yeah,
that's a really good point. I forgot about that part of it with the point average.
yeah, the point average kind of sucks, especially because I went out there the first week and I won quite a bit. So last weekend I had to start 8th at every track I was at. So it kind of sucks, but I guess that's what I dealt with all last year for the tour anyway. So
So yeah, I mean, you're used to it. You're comfortable with it. So yeah,
yep,
you'll be able to put on a show coming to the front.
exactly. Getting used to it early.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in for another Wednesday Night Live. Hope everyone has a safe and fun Memorial Day weekend. A lot of racing going on. So hopefully we'll see you all at the track in some way, shape, or form. And see you soon, Ty. Best of
Yeah,
luck.
see you later.